WrestleMania 37 has been officially announced for Raymond James Stadium this year, and there's going to be fans back in the arenas. I have a lot to speak on that. We did hear rumblings about NXT India a few weeks ago, and now we're getting that kind of sorta with WWE Superstar Spectacle, whatever that is supposed to be. I did end up catching AEW New Year Smash last week, as I catch every episode of AEW Dynamite. But one thing I also caught was NXT, their Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which I will be covering on this episode. And finally, I will be tackling 30 wrestling fan questions that all wrestling fans need to answer, because this is the 30th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. The S is silent, by the way. God, I hate this microphone. Yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy Tyler Mask, aka Tyler Cool Williams, aka Tyler Suplex, aka the one who lived, and welcome back to the 30th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. And that is pill spelled with an S, but it's silent, much like I was just 10 seconds ago when I realized that nearly 15 minutes into the recording that my microphone shut off. Like, I don't know what... there's something wrong with my microphone now. The last few live streams, I've had mic issues. I have yet to have a microphone issue during a podcast recording, but I literally noticed within 15 minutes that the microphone shut off and it wasn't recording anymore. So, I'm pissed. I literally just talked about something like WrestleMania for 15 minutes, and now I gotta redo that all over again. So, not a very happy Tyler Coon Williams here, but we're here to talk about this show. Talk about this podcast. My God. Dude, I'm so pissed right now. I literally just sat here and talked for 15 minutes for no reason. Frustrations aside, let's get into this damn podcast. So, the first thing I want to talk about was the fact that yesterday I did my first official live stream for Monday Night Raw. I don't know when was the last time I actually did a live stream for Monday Night Raw, but I actually watched Raw last night. Believe it or not, your boy actually watched Raw. Now, a lot of you are probably asking yourself, Tyler, I thought you don't watch WWE. I thought you don't watch Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, all that kind of stuff. And you're absolutely correct about that statement. The only reason why I watched Raw was for two reasons. Number one, I was bored. I was off that day, and I'm like, well, since I'm not doing anything, let's get some content out. Because I haven't made content in like 3 days. You know, the previous day, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't do shit the last day on Sunday. I just kind of chilled out, you know. I felt very unproductive. But, you know, every once in a while, you just gotta recharge and rejuvenate. So I'm like, you know what? Today, to make up for me not doing anything the previous day, we're going to watch Monday Night Raw and do a live stream for it. I didn't tweet it. I didn't say anything to my Discord chat. I didn't say anything to my friends. I literally just said, let's go live. Boom, we're live. And within 5 minutes, 15 people were watching me live. I did not expect the amount of people to tune in for that live stream. But it did. We had a very great turnout. And we actually hit our goal, because during the live stream, I set a goal. I said, if this video can hit 50 likes and $50 in super chats, then I will watch Raw next week. Not only did we get 50 likes, but we got $70 in super chats for that video. So I said, you know what? As much as I am not a fan of this product, I will indeed watch Monday Night Raw next week. Excuse me. So, what I can tell you about this episode of Monday Night Raw, I thought it was tolerable. Like, there wasn't anything that I necessarily hated. And I feel like the reason why I wasn't shitting on this show was because, number one, I was reading the chat for, I would say, 90% of that stream, and 10% was probably actually watching Raw. Let me ratio that. 70 was the chat, 30 was Raw. Because I think 90-10 is unfair. I did actually watch Raw. And from what I did watch of Raw, I think I found a lot of it funny, and not funny in the fact that it was hilarious, like haha hee hee funny, but funny in the fact that there's people out there that actually watch this show each and every single week. Like, from what I saw, like, I didn't think anything was bad. The AJ Styles Ricochet match was actually pretty good. That one spot where AJ Styles did a suplex onto Ricochet, like he had Ricochet in the suplex position, and he threw Ricochet on the top rope. Ricochet bounced off the top rope, and AJ Styles caught him in the Styles Class position. That had to be one of the dopest things I've ever seen. That was lit. I actually like that. That match I enjoyed. All the other segments outside of the show, I didn't care for. Randy Orton's opening segment that took like 10 minutes to do, that was unnecessary. I can't wait to see Lucha Orton next week, though. I'm hyped for that. The main event was Alexa Bliss versus Asuka. That I did actually catch. Asuka versus Alexa Bliss was an interesting one because it was very story based. The first portion was Alexa Bliss getting her ass kicked by Asuka, and then somehow, some way, Alexa Bliss was awoken. The beast awoke up in her. The lights turned back on, and it was purple lighting. Alexa Bliss was basically invulnerable to any moves that Asuka did. She blocked it. At one point, Asuka went for a kick, and Alexa Bliss just straight up ducked the move, which I thought was a cool shot. But I don't know how I felt about Asuka basically just looking like a chump to this 5 foot tall lady. And I know Asuka's not taller; she's like 5'2", but Alexa's like 5 foot nothing and like barely an imposing figure. So seeing Asuka get put down by Alexa Bliss in like 2 minutes after this was just kind of like, like I couldn't have been I was upset because you guys know I'm like a humongous Asuka fan, but I wasn't super upset about it because I don't watch this show enough to get invested in Asuka. Like, I love seeing Asuka, but like I don't have COVID, I swear. I'm not invested in Asuka's character anymore because I don't watch the product. Asuka did get pinned by Alexa Bliss, so I'm assuming this is the direction we're heading in going into the Royal Rumble next Sunday. I like to believe Asuka will probably retain the title at the Royal Rumble. I don't know what's going to happen. If I could take a wild guess here, given that at Royal Rumble 2019, we saw Nia Jax get her ass kicked by men, which was fun. I saw that live. It was an epic moment. I'm going to take a good assumption that in that match, we're going to see Lucha Orton hit an RKO on Alexa Bliss and cost her the match. That's my prediction. I hope it happens too. But imagine Randy Orton hitting an RKO on this. Randy Orton's 6'4", 6 foot. Randy Orton's a tall guy, right? How tall is Randy? He's like 6'4", 6'5". Hold on. Randy, I'm thinking of Edge. Hold on. Randy's 6'5". No, he's billed at 6'5". I think he's 6'3". Alexa Bliss is like 5 foot even, 5 foot nothing. But I tell you what, I still can't wait to see Randy Orton hit this RKO on this 5 foot tall girl. This is gonna be awesome. Let's go. Let's go, man. Let's go. So outside of that, Alexa Bliss did end up beating Asuka with the sister Abigail. She said, "Let me in," after the match to end us off, and that was Monday Night Raw. I can't be too upset with what I saw. After all, I had a great turnout on the live stream. Once again, big shout out to all of you who pulled up to an unadvertised live stream. You guys are the real OGs here. I sat through this show, but you guys helped out a lot. And we will be live next Monday for Monday Night Raw. This is not going to be a weekly thing, but we reached our goal, so hey, we're going to be there. We're going to be there next week. Let's go. So, guys, getting on from there, we'll be hopping into some WrestleMania news. Before I get into that, my microphone shut off for a second time during this recording, so I am beyond pissed right now. I will likely go back to using my old microphone until I get a new one because my microphone right now, it's not holding up. It keeps on shutting off. It shut off during last night's live stream, and it keeps on shutting off during this recording. And when you're recording a podcast and your microphone keeps shutting off, that's when, like, when you're live, you can just easily turn the microphone back on. When you're recording something, you have to either realize that it's shut off and re-record it, or keep on recording, or you don't realize it and then you have to re-record what you just said. So after 20 minutes, I'm getting furious. So if this shuts off again, I'm going back to use my old microphone. But we're going to hope that my microphone stays good for this. And you know, this is my first time with a Blue Yeti. I mean, not Blue Yeti, a Blue Yeti. This has been great up until like the last month. I don't know what's been going on with this thing, but Has anyone who has a Blue Yeti had this experience? Because this is pissing me off. I'm definitely going to buy a new microphone after this. But getting on from there, we hop into some WrestleMania news. Woo, WrestleMania. Ooh, WrestleMania. So, it has been confirmed by WWE themselves. They had their own little skit with Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Sasha Banks, Roman Reigns, and John Cena. It pops me every time to see John Cena now. Like, I remember back in the day, I was a big John Cena mark like all the little kids were. I didn't become a little smarky smark and started to boo John Cena until 2013. I think that's probably the year I started to boo John Cena. Because I think that's when he started feuding with Kane, right? The Rise Above Hate, John Cena. Yeah, that's when I started to boo John Cena. Man. Now every time I see him, I pop because John Cena's barely on TV anymore. It's like the quote, "You'll never know what you have until it's gone." Like, I used to detest John Cena and want to see John Cena go away. And now that he's no longer on TV, man, I wanted to see John Cena back. I mean, every week. I don't want to see John Cena burying talent every week. But I wouldn't mind seeing John Cena wrestle once or twice a year, like a special attraction. Say whatever you will about John Cena, but he is a special attraction now. He's going to be a legend in a few years. And he's already considered the greatest of all time to WWE standards, which we can have a conversation about that when he retires. But as of right now, he's not a GOAT. He is one of the GOATs, but not the GOAT. He was in that little WrestleMania announcement thing. They announced that WrestleMania will be emanating from Raymond James Stadium this year on April the 10th and April 11th. So it got pushed back. It will no longer be on the March 22nd. And it will not be in SoFi Stadium. It will be in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, as it was scheduled to be last year. And as I said, April 10th and 11th, it will be a 2-night event once again. You know, 2-night WrestleMania, it has its pros and its cons. The con being that it's 2 nights, so if you're somebody like me who has a job, you have to actually request off for those days to watch WrestleMania. I mean, it's a Saturday and a Sunday, so if you're a person with a normal office job or something along those lines, then you more than likely have off on Saturday and Sunday. But for normal working people, you may only get 1 day off, if 2 days if you're lucky. So being off for 2 nights for WrestleMania is like, it's a whole operation. So that's the nitpick I have. It's a personal one more than anything. I think the pros outweigh the cons of 2 nights WrestleMania because let's say you build up 2 feuds and both those feuds are like main event level feuds. But if you have 1 night, you only can have one of those feuds being a main event. If you have a 2-night WrestleMania, you can have one feud main event one night and then the other feud main event the next night. Like last year, where they had Undertaker and AJ Styles main event one night, and then the following night you had the main event be Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. WrestleMania 35, like if that was a 2-night event, you could have easily had one night be Ronda versus Charlotte versus Becky, and then the other night could have been Kofi Kingston. Now black people look like, I swear. Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan. Imagine that. Imagine if we would have gotten a WrestleMania main event with Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston. The fucking press WWE would have gotten for having a black man main event WrestleMania would have been astronomical. But they don't have the balls to do it going forward. The closest we'll get, I suppose. Maybe. Yeah, right. We're not getting to this year. Anyway, so April 10th, April 11th, it will be live from Raymond James Stadium. They did also confirm that there will be fans in attendance for this show. It was announced in a press release for WWE that, and I quote, "In accordance with the local partners and government officials, WWE will announce ticket availability and safety protocols for WrestleMania 37 in the coming weeks. Information on additional WrestleMania week events is forthcoming." So they did announce there will be some week events for WrestleMania, which I hope they're not planning WrestleMania Access because COVID, that's a horrible idea. But whatever the events will be, should be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if independent wrestling shows will do WrestleMania weekend events as well, like JJSB and all that kind of stuff. I'm curious because It's very short planning for them to have to do it, but we'll see what happens. I mean, if they do it, then it's going to be weird to weather that storm of wrestling fans trying to come through. Because you know for a fact, wrestling fans from all over the world are going to try to come to Florida for this show, which is a horrible idea in itself. But if I had to take a wild gander of what the capacity will be for WrestleMania 37, both nights, I looked it up. WrestleMania 37 in Raymond James Stadium, the capacity is 65,000 people. So I'm going to guess 15% of those people will be in the stadiums, which would be 10,000 people. That's my guess. 10,000 people will be in attendance. Every 6 seats, one person should be in attendance. And yes, it won't look good visually, but hey, how else are you going to fit 10,000 people in an arena without spreading them out? You have to do it in order to get people in the seats. Now, at what cost exactly? I mean, we are still going through COVID-19. Yes, there's a vaccine out, but they're not going to require all vaccinated people to attend this show. Well, they're not going to require you to have a vaccination to attend this show. So, you never know. There could be a possibility that, like, maybe 100 of the 10,000 people going to this show have COVID. They're touching things. Maybe they're not wearing masks. Like, this just sounds in itself like a bad idea. But anything to have fans back, right? Now, I have no room to talk. I did attend a wrestling show last year during COVID. I have no room to talk, but I did not attend a 10,000 seat arena. I was outside, by the way. I was not attending I don't see them doing a show with 500, 1,000. They're going to try to shoot for the biggest number they could possibly land themselves in. I don't know how exactly they're going to do safety protocols outside of the arena, because you also got to consider this. Fans are going to be walking around throughout the arena, touching things, at concession stands, in the bathrooms. How are they going to weather that storm? I don't know. We'll see in due time. Just don't be surprised when the cases of COVID go up for Tampa, Florida the week after WrestleMania. That's all I can say about that. They also announced WrestleMania 38 will be live from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas on April the 3rd, 2022. So it is official. We'll be having a one-night WrestleMania. We'll be going back to that format, which we're going back to the old days of 8-hour WrestleManias. Not excited about that, but one-night WrestleMania is traditional, so that much I am excited for. AT&T Stadium, I don't know how big the arena is, but I'm going to assume this may possibly be the first WrestleMania with a full... Nah, you know what? I can't even say that, because this country is terrible. Like, the United States of America is horrible. I mean, it's horrible in general. But with COVID cases, it's even worse, because our cases keep going up and up and up and up and up. And it seems like it's never going down. And when it does go down, it shoots back up. We don't know how to keep things under control here, because people don't know how to stay home. People don't know how to wear masks. You see it online. You see videos of people going to stores. The managers are trying to talk them down. They're like, oh, well, you know. I'm talking about all the Karens out there. Don't want to wear masks to stores. Don't want to stay out. Like, it's terrible here, man. So I'd like to believe in 2022 we'll have full fans back in arenas. But even then, I don't know. I would say maybe 50%. I don't think that we'll have full fans, like a full stadium WrestleMania, until WrestleMania 39, which they did announce will be in SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, April 2nd, 2023, which is also a single night WrestleMania. That, I'm going to say, is going to be the first WrestleMania that will be full attendance. I don't know how big the stadium will be, but that's going to be that first big WrestleMania. Now, they are back in, they're supposed to be Raymond James Stadium last year, and they couldn't do it. This year, they're back. The question is, are they going to do a bunch of rematches? Because a lot of feuds they were building up were supposed to be in that big stadium, and they had to do it in a no people WrestleMania. So, are they going to do a bunch of rematches? I feel like they probably will try. Edge versus Randy Orton has been rumored for months now to be WrestleMania. That will probably be a thing. I can totally see them trying to do something with Drew and Brock again if they can manage to get Brock back in to WWE. I could see a bunch of rematches. I hope it's not Rematchamania though, because we need new and fresh storylines. We need new, fresh matches, but we will see in the coming time. Getting off of WrestleMania, we hop into the Dusty Rhodes Classic. I did check out the Dusty Rhodes Classic last week, and I did catch the 3 matches. The Grizzled Young Veterans versus Everrise. This match was decent. I was excited to see Everrise because we've been seeing Everrise for like the last 1 or 2 years, and they've been like this. It's odd seeing them because it's like they're booked as this jobber tag team, but they're booked as like a higher card jobber tag team. Like, you know who they are, and they're good wrestlers, but they always lose. I'm sure it's by design. I'm sure someday in the future, Everrise is going to be like, you know, top prospect for NXT tag team champions. I would even say maybe by the end of the year, we may be talking about Everrise as one of the best tag teams at NXT. But as of right now, they're booked as jobbers, like high-class jobbers. And I think that's really funny. GYV, they were in the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic last year in 2020. They lost to Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle. They were in this match. It was technically sound for the first act. The second act, you know, it was trying to kick up a little bit. Third act, all the tag teams were getting in action. It was decent. It wasn't anything substantially that happened. Grizzled Young Veterans won the match at the tag team finisher, the Ticket to Mayhem, which I like because it's like a tombstone, and then the one guy lifts him up for like a Bloody Sunday, but the other guy hits a Bloody Sunday instead. I think that's a really cool tag team finisher. They won the match. They're advancing on. I think they're probably going to make it to like the semifinals and lose to another team. Who that might be, I'm not too sure of. But also in this tournament, we have the team of Jake Atlas and Isaiah Swerve Scott versus MSK. First things first, I have to ask a question. What the hell was Isaiah Scott wearing in this episode? Like, I haven't watched NXT in months, but golly, this dude had pink, like purple and red braids and had on this like long white jet. He looked like a rip-off version of Broken Matt Hardy. I'll be honest. He looked like a bootleg Broken Matt Hardy. It was odd. I didn't know how to feel about it. Jake Atlas, I thought he and Jake Atlas were feuding. Apparently now they're tag team partners, maybe against their will. They seem like they were on good terms in this episode. But then we have MSK. The former Rascals of Impact Wrestling fame, Zachary Wentz and Desmond Xavier, going by the names Nash Carter and Wes Lee. Yes, Wes Lee is the guy's name. Wesley, oh my god. You know, when I heard that name, I thought of Wesley Snipes. I thought maybe the name was incomplete, but no. First name West, last name Lee. Nash Carter, I guess, is a cool name, but Wesley still has me puzzled. Anyway, I do want to comment on this, and let me just say this first off. I'm not fat shaming anybody. I'm not trying to body shame anybody. But Zachary Wentz, I think he was Nash Carter. I'm almost certain he looked way more shredded and way more built in Impact Wrestling. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know if maybe COVID got the best of him in quarantine. He started eating a bunch. But he stood out a lot on this show for looking like the least... How do I say this? He looked the least like a built wrestler. I don't know how to say it without coming across as rude. I'm trying not to say this dude looked out of shape, but he looked out of shape. He looked out of shape. I don't know how else to say it. He looked out of shape. It was weird because I'm pretty sure if I look up a picture of Zachary Wentz right now, he didn't look like Finn Balor. He didn't look like Jay White, but he looked like he was in better shape. Like, you could tell, you could tell when some guys like body, their stomach is like over top of their tights, that they, it's like, you couldn't have toned up before TV. Like, he didn't look like he, let me stop talking about it. It didn't bug me, but it was definitely noticeable. I mean, he could still go. And I thought he and Desmond Xavier were great in this match. You know, they did all their tag team classic moves. They did the assisted moonsault, which is like one of my favorite tag team moves in all of wrestling. He looked great. He just didn't look great. I think maybe as time goes on, he'll tone up, but I thought this was a very odd time to not tone up. Let me just get off that topic. Anyway, I thought this is the best match on the show. I thought both teams looked great. MSK did end up winning the match with their heart attack-like move. So, you know, like the heart attack is when Davey Boy Smith will hold up the opponent, and then you have, is it Davey Boy Smith? No, Bret Hart will hold up the opponent, and then, if I'm correct, it's, who was the guy? Jim Neidhart, Neidhart would do the lariat. Well, in this move, Nash Carter holds him up, and then, no, I'm doing the sequence wrong. Wesley holds him up, and then Nash Carter does a jumping neckbreaker onto the opponent, which is cool. And they got the pin over Atlas, so MSK's moving on. Like I said, I thought it was the best match on the show. Unrelated to the Tag Team Classic, I also watched Xia Li's match because I've been seeing on Twitter these little teaser images for Xia Li and, you know, Boa going through these, like, rituals and, like, getting beat up by this Shang Tsung looking character. And we saw it this week, this Shang Tsung Samara looking character sitting on his throne as Xia Li and Boa just kind of stand next to him. It was a lit ass entrance, bro. This was a dope entrance. You know what she reminds me of? There was this one girl in Mortal Kombat who came out with that similar hat. I think, if I'm correct, her name was shit. What was her name? She was in Mortal Kombat Armageddon. I'm a gamer, man. I should know this. I want to say Harakiri, but that was the name of, like, the suicides in Mortal Kombat. Damn. What was the girl's name? I gotta look this up, otherwise I'm gonna go insane. Hold on, Mortal Kombat Armageddon. That had like one of the like biggest rosters. So I feel like I'm probably not even gonna find it. But hold on, let me go to fighters. I'm literally doing this. I'm literally trying to find who this person is. Dagon, Cyrax, Fujin. Is it Kira? Kira? No, it's not Kira. Oh, this is gonna make me mad. I don't know who it is. You know what? Forget it. Whatever. She looked like a Mortal Kombat character. Put it that way. Now, the match started off. Homegirl ran at her. I don't know how exactly this counts as a punch to the face, but she punched her in the face. And then she hit her with this spinning kick to the which was awesome. The spinning kick was awesome. Lands a spinning kick to the face and got the pin. Like, it was a squash match. Xia Li, I remember her from the Cruiserweight Classic. Oh my god, the Cruiserweight Classic. Oh my god. The Mae Young Classic of 2018. Her match with the other girl, what was her name? Karen Q. They did the little standoff and everything. I remember that match. It was a cool match. She was even in the Mae Young Classic in 2017, if I'm correct. She was in both Mae Young Classics. And I thought she did fairly well in both matches. But she's actually getting a storyline here. And it's intriguing. You know what I think? If they want to build her up, they could potentially build her to be a potential opponent for Io Shirai going into WrestleMania weekend. Now, last year, the NXT Women's Championship was defended at WrestleMania. I don't think they're going to do it again this year. But if they do a takeover on Friday, because, you know, NXT TakeOver usually has one during WrestleMania weekend. If they do a takeover on Friday, they could do Xia Li versus Io Shirai. Now, I don't know if you're going to have Io Shirai get beaten by Xia Li. The way they're building this woman up, if they wanted to, they could have her be the one to beat Io Shirai, and I wouldn't be mad at it. But what I can tell you is, not many things about NXT excite me right now, but this Xia Li character, that has pulled me in slightly. I might tune into NXT next week just to see Xia Li. Like, this is what NXT's been missing. They've been missing that one character, that one storyline that pulls you in. I feel like the last few months of NXT has just been them coasting. They're having great matches or good matches every single week, and that's it. They haven't had that one storyline. This character may be the thing that pulls me in, if they do it right. They could fuck it up very easily. It is WWE after all. But I have faith, because it's NXT, and more often than not, they do storylines right. So I will reserve any judgment until they start fucking up. And right now, I have my eye on Xia Li. I'll see what they do with her. I'm pulled in. Their mission now with NXT is to keep me invested. They failed to do that for the last few months. Keep me invested with Xia Li. That's all I ask of them. Getting back into the Dusty Rhodes Classic, the main event was Breezango versus Roderick Strong and Adam Cole. I saw Kyle O'Reilly. I saw Adam Cole. I even saw Roderick Strong, but I saw no Bobby Fish. Okay, so I'm assuming Bobby Fish is injured again. Like, this dude, I swear to God, is always injured. From the time he came into NXT, I feel like once a year, he's injured. He's like Samoa Joe. And that's not even, it's not funny, but like, dude, I don't know what else to say. And there's probably a reason why Kyle O'Reilly's getting a singles push right now, because he keeps on getting injured. He probably don't trust them as a tag team anymore, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. When he comes back, he's probably going to be relegated to being a manager. I won't be surprised if Bobby Fish is relegated to being a manager for Undisputed Era at this point, as many times as he's been injured. I know Kyle O'Reilly has like a kayfabe injury with his jaw, but Bobby Fish, I think, is legitimately injured. So, oof. Roderick Strong and Adam Cole, they're baby faces now, so that's also pretty interesting because I've never seen Undisputed Era as baby faces. Roderick Strong had a hot tag in this match, and it's my new favorite thing in NXT. Aside from Xia Li, the Roderick Strong hot tag was crazy. I loved it. I loved it. In this match, Pete Dunne, player 1 and player 2, came out to attack Kyle O'Reilly and try to crush his jaw. Finn Balor, of all people, came out to try to assist, so I guess he has a newfound respect for Kyle O'Reilly. He came out to try to defend him, but they beat him down too. They ended up laying out Kyle O'Reilly. Adam Cole was distracted, but didn't last too long. He ended up getting... What am I talking about here? I'm getting all messed up. You see what happens is that my microphone goes out and I lose my train of thought. So Adam Cole, he tries for a Panama Sunrise and Fandango counters that. So then he tries for the top rope leg drop, Fandango does, and Adam Cole catches him with a super kick. And they've done this spot to death. Like, back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago, Shawn Michaels versus Shelton Benjamin did the whole, springboard super kick spot. And I feel like we've seen it done to death every year in WWE. Like, the spot literally gets no pop out of me anymore. But he hits a super kick on the Fandango and gets the pin. So they are now advancing on to the Dusty Rhodes Classic. Every single time I say Classic, I'm tempted to say Cruiserweight Classic. But they're advancing on. I'm going to say it. Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, they may possibly be my, pick to win the whole thing. They may possibly win the whole thing, and I would not be upset about it. Adam Cole and Roderick Strong as a tag team, I'm here for it. Player 1, player 2, Pete Dunne, without Pat McAfee, is, I'm not going to lie, before Xia Li, the one interesting thing about NXT for me was Pat McAfee, because he cut the best promos on the show, and he also was a non-wrestler, but yet he was actually fairly good at wrestling. Like, Pat McAfee was something to tune in for, and now there's no Pat McAfee, so this faction is very, I don't really care about the faction that much anymore. But that was Dusty Rhodes Classic. Let's move on from there. NXT India. We heard rumblings about NXT India a few weeks ago. I talked about it on this podcast. Now we have more news about it. It's not NXT India per se. But we did get the announcement of Superstar Spectacle. Now, it's not the 8-man single elimination tournament that was rumored, but it is, in fact, a show happening on January the 26th. Which will feature the likes of wrestlers in Jinder Mahal, former WWE champion, the Bollywood boys, Samir and Sunil Singh. I can't wait to hear the Bollywood trap theme song again. The first Indian tag team of WWE in Indu Sheer, Rinku and Surov. So they're back. These guys got taken off of NXT television after one of those guys spoiled the outcome of the Adam Cole-Keith Lee match last year. Their own fucking fault. NXT superstar Jeet Rama. I've never heard of this guy, but he's going to be on the show. The first Indian woman to sign a WWE contract, Kavita Devi,
who had one of the most viewed WWE matches on YouTube at one point in time with Dakota Kai in 2017. The Great Khali's trainees, the Giant Zanjeer and Delshire Shanky, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing these names, both of these guys stand at 7 feet tall, so you know for a fact Vince McMahon is gunning to sign these guys, if he has not already. Giant Zanjeer stands at 7'2", and Delshire Shanky stands at 7 feet. Now, these guys are trainees of the Great Khali, who is among one of the worst wrestlers of all time. The Great Khali, he was an absolute star in India for WWE, but as far as him as a wrestler, he was terrible. He was atrocious. So if these guys have any rub from the Great Khali, they're not going to be any good either. And then we have an Indian-born high flyer by the name of Guru Raj, or Raj. I'm going to say Raj is his name. So, okay, I guess this should be interesting. But also you have WWE wrestlers on this show. They're advertising WWE Champion Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio, WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Charlotte Flair, AJ Styles, Bayley, The New Day, Shinsuke Nakamura, Cesaro, Dolph Ziggler, and Bobby Roode, Ricochet, and more appearances from even a WWE Hall of Famer and Ric Flair on this show. Now you're asking yourself, how are they going to fly all these guys out to India during the COVID period? And the answer to that is, they're not. This show is going to be emanating from the Capitol Wrestling Arena. So, Superstar Spectacle, I don't know exactly how this is going to be a big deal over in India if it's happening in the States, but yeah, that's a thing that's happening. I mean, I'm interested because, you know, the Indian wrestlers, that's something that the American market is not exposed to. I mean, yes, we did get Indu Sheer, you know, in NXT last year, but that was for like a very, very, very short period. And then we also got Kavita Devi for a very short period of time during WrestleMania 34 and the Mae Young Classics. But we really don't have any other exposure to Indian wrestlers outside of Jinder Mahal and the Bollywood Boys. So anything new in professional wrestling, I'm open to. We'll see what happens. Now we get into my new segment I'm going to be doing here on the Chillpo Podcast. Top 3 wrestling matches of the week. Now, these are not exclusive to the week alone. These are exclusive to matches I've seen in the last week. And these aren't ranked, but these are the top 3 matches I've seen last week. The first one I'm going to say here is Darby Allin versus Brian Cage at AEW New Year's Smash last week. I thought that was a really good match. And it was a very good built-up feud. It lasted too long in my opinion. It took way too long to get to this match. It took 7 months to get to this match. But I felt like it was a very well put together climax. The match was what you would expect it to be. Darby Allin is 100 pounds lighter than Brian Cage and way smaller than Brian Cage. So the match should have been nothing short of Brian Cage flinging Darby around at his disposal. And it was exactly that. Darby Allin was getting tossed around the ring for 80% of it, really. And there was one, the craziest spot of the week has to go to Brian Cage military pressing Darby Allin over his head and throwing him through a table. And the table literally just like explodes. That was crazy. I mean, it technically wasn't a DQ because he threw Darby through the table. He didn't put him through the table, so it wasn't a DQ, but it was still crazy. The story of Darby Allin's persistence really showed in this match as he was getting ragdolled throughout the entire thing, and then he started making a comeback in the end. But even then, he was still getting put down by Brian Cage. Like the very few minutes he was getting an offense in, drop kicks. He had a code orange. Like, it wasn't too unbelievable, but there were parts where it's like, yeah, it's wrestling. I guess I gotta buy into it. But the last minute saw Ricky Starks try to interfere. The lights go out, they come back on, and it's Sting, as Tony Schiavone would say. And I'm like, for the 6th week in a row, Sting is on TV. But no, he has a bat, and he actually puts in work on Ricky Starks. He fights off Ricky Starks with the bat. This leads Brian Cage to try to capitalize on it. He gets Darby over top of his head with a fireman's carry. Mind you, he's on the middle rope still. Darby Allin crucifixes Brian Cage off the middle rope into a pin and gets the 3 count to retain the TNT Championship. Darby Allin successfully retaining the TNT Championship. I think, if I'm correct, this is his first TNT Championship defense, which is ridiculous considering that Cody set the bar for really TNT Championships reigns going forward with the whole weekly defense thing. Darby Allin did not defend the TNT Championship until his 2nd month, which is, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like going forward, Darby Allin should be getting more defense. I'm not saying you have to follow in the footsteps of Cody Rhodes and do weekly defenses, but I think we should at least get more defenses out of Darby. I want to see Darby defend his title more often. Let's get that defense at Beach Bash, or whatever they're going to call it, February 3rd. Even before that, if you get one in before that, that's even better. But more defenses, please. That's what I ask. My second match, once again not ranked, of the week goes to A-Kid versus Volta on NXT UK. This was for the NXT UK Championship. This comes after A-Kid won the Heritage Cup and earned the right to face Volta. This was a 13-minute match, and I thought it was really damn good. Now, this was nothing like Ilya versus Volta, which was literally almost 30 minutes of annihilation. This was actually, I would say, a very different match from Volta versus Ilya. Because in this match, you had A-Kid striking Volta, and not like Ilya with the chops and shit. Like, this dude was kicking and punching Volta. And Volta was no-selling it, but, like, some of them landing, you could tell, like, Volta was getting affected by it. And it was a workover type of strategy. But the thing about A-Kid in this match that I loved, and it was so smart, was that A-Kid would, punch and kick him, and Volta would go for a chop, and A-Kid would catch him, and he would lock him in a submission. And I would say, I don't want to say 50% of this match, but 40% of this match was A-Kid offense, which was so impressive because this kid is so much smaller than Volta, and I would even say smaller than Ilya Dragunov. But he had more offense in this match than Ilya did, and it was impressive. It was really the Zack Sabre Jr. type of offense, like, lock him in submissions. It wasn't Zack Sabre Jr. levels of submissions, but the way that the match was structured was very much like a Zack Sabre Jr. and Volta match, and I felt like it was very well structured, and I enjoyed the match a lot. I would definitely recommend it to you guys. It's short, it's sweet, it's easy digestible. Volta did end up winning the match. He did end up catching A-Kid at his most vulnerable points, ended up hitting him with 2 back-to-back lariats for the pin. Volta still your NXT UK champion. It begs the question of who is going to be the one to beat Volta. We'll talk about that in a future episode, though. And the last match of the week, the best match of the week I watched, was Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro on SmackDown. Now, I would have included a match from Impact Hard to Kill, but I'll be honest, I didn't actually watch Impact Hard to Kill. I'm planning to check it out, which is probably going to be a review up on the Tyler Mask YouTube channel, so check that out a little bit later on. But this match went, I think, like maybe 9 minutes. And this is also a really good match. A short match, but really good, sweet, and to the point. The first 3 to 4 minutes were a technical work-paced match you expect from Daniel Bryan and Cesaro. Bunch of lockups and mat moves, catch as catch can. And then the 5 minutes after were the moves you expect Daniel Bryan and Cesaro to hit. The power moves from Cesaro, the kicks and strikes from Daniel Bryan, trying to lock him in submissions. Daniel Bryan was even working over the arm of Cesaro, which is odd. I mean, it's not odd because it's Daniel Bryan, but it's odd to see, like, the babyface work over the heel. It's usually backwards. But he was working over the arm of Cesaro, and that was the story for, like, the latter half of the match. And it's set up for Daniel Bryan to lock in the yes lock, which Cesaro got out of. He then went for his running high knee, which I forgot the name of the move, which is depressing, but I don't watch WWE, so don't blame me. Cesaro hits one of my favorite moves ever. He hits the very European uppercut onto Daniel Bryan, and hits it immediately, goes for the neutralizer, hits it, and gets the pin. Cesaro winning this match, and goddamn, I just remembered how much I love Cesaro. Like, I've been a fan of Cesaro since 2013, but goddamn, this dude has been on his A game ever since. And I remember Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro. This match happened, I think, in 2013 when Daniel Bryan was shooting with the Authority. This match happened a long time ago, and they had one of my favorite matches in WWE TV history, like one of my favorite televised WWE matches. This is nowhere close to it, but I enjoyed it very much. And that was my top 3 favorite matches of the week. We're going to end out this podcast very soon, but before we do, this is the 30th episode of the Chill Pill podcast. So in here, I'm going to do something different. A 30-day wrestling challenge. We're going to subsidize that into 30 questions for this podcast. So, a lot of you don't know all too much about me as far as pro wrestling. I mean, you know what I like currently, but you don't know what I like as far as all time. So, a lot of you always ask, some of you always ask about my all-time favorite this and that. So, in this, I'm going to answer the question, my all-time 30-day wrestling question challenge. So, here we go. First question, we're going to try flash answers here. First question, favorite wrestler growing up? The answer, it's tied between CM Punk and Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is my all-time favorite wrestler, so the easy answer would be Chris Jericho. But like growing up, I would say it's more so CM Punk. I would say it's more so CM Punk. Because when I started getting into wrestling, like really getting into wrestling, it was 2005, 2006. CM Punk came into WWE like a year later, and I immediately gravitated towards CM Punk in ECW. I didn't know what it was about the guy. I don't know if it was I can't pinpoint what it was about CM Punk that I liked, but I loved CM Punk. And I followed his career throughout his entire WWE inception. The heel turn, him with the Straight Edge Society, you know, him with the, you know, It's Clobbering Time and a Cult of Personality, the Summer of Punk. I watched it all, man. I watched it all, and I loved every second of it. I miss CM Punk. I don't beg for CM Punk to come back like all these other wrestling fans do, but I cherish the moments I did have with CM Punk as one of the top guys in WWE. So, yes, even though Chris Jericho is my all-time favorite, I'm going to change my answer and go with CM Punk. It's my favorite wrestler growing up. Favorite female wrestler, Mickie James. Favorite male wrestler, Chris Jericho is my all-time favorite male wrestler. If you guys don't know what my 5 is, number 1 is Chris Jericho, number 2 is CM Punk, number 3 is Shawn Michaels, number 4 is Batista, and number 5 is Triple H. Number 4, favorite theme song. This is a hard one because I have a lot of pro wrestling theme songs that I love. Like, one of the things that I always had an appreciation for is wrestling theme songs. And I remember I used to have this WWE volume disc set. You guys remember back in the day, WWE used to release these volume disc sets. I had WWE Volume 8, and I used to play it on my Walkman all the fucking time, man. It was remix versions of WWE theme songs. They had like Jeff Hardy's No More Words and Candice Michelle's theme song and Miss McMahon. I'm going to have to do a review of the Volume 8 theme song Once Upon a Time. Like, one of these days, I'm going to do a review of that whole soundtrack. One of these days. But my favorite theme song, it's a tie between Broken Dreams by Shawn Mendes Harvest, which is Drew McIntyre's old theme song that WWE refuses to bring back, and Black or White, which is a theme song that was for Justin Gabriel and Heath Slater back when they were part of the Nexus. If you guys don't remember that theme song, look it up. It's called Black or White. But to throw in some honorable mentions, Cesaro's Miracle, his old theme song. I would also throw in No More Words, Jeff Hardy's theme song. You could also throw in there Madison Rain's Killer Queen theme song. I'm a mark for that. And what's another one I could throw in there that I really enjoyed growing up? What's another one that I pop for a lot? As much as I hate the man, Hulk Hogan's Real American theme song. Favorite promotion. Now, if we're talking all-time favorite promotion, I gotta go with NXT. But if we're going with current, it's definitely AEW. Now, it's NXT, but it's NXT from 2014 to 2016. Like, after 2017, I start to fall off with NXT, honestly. I didn't really start to fall off truly until after NXT TakeOver New Orleans. But 2014 to 2016 NXT was probably my favorite period in all of NXT history. So, definitely favorite promotion, NXT 2014-2016. Favorite tag team, D-Generation X, Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Favorite stable, still D-Generation X. Favorite angle, it's a tie between Stone Cold paying a visit to Vince McMahon in the hospital And this is the segment where back in like the Attitude Era, 1999, I believe, where Vince McMahon was injured, and I think Mick Foley came in with this clown, and Vince McMahon sent them out. He's like, get out, get out. And then the nurse calls him in, calls in the doctor, and you hear Stone Cold's voice like, I'll take it from here, nurse. And you could see the fear on Vince McMahon's face, and then Stone Cold beats him down. He's like, no, 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 no. I can still play the image back in my head, and I'll never forget to the day I die the sound of the pan hitting Vince McMahon's head when Stone Cold cracks him over the head with that metal pan. Oh my god. Like, that segment is definitely my all-time favorite. Like, I own it now because I bought it when I was in Japan. But back in the day, I had this disc set, the Raw's 15th anniversary disc set, which was basically, it was 3 eras of Monday Night Raw. The Golden Era, the Attitude Era, and the Ruthless Aggression Era. And each disc set showed a different era and like its best moments from that era. And I would say, of all the disc sets and all the segments, I replayed this segment back the most. I love this segment so much. And the one that ties with it is Daniel Bryan turning on the Wyatt family, which was back in 2014. I remember watching that segment live. I wasn't the biggest Daniel Bryan fan, but that segment was built up so perfectly. Daniel Bryan taking off the jacket, and Bray Wyatt's telling him, no, you better kneel to me or whatnot. No, how it went was Daniel Bryan was kneeling down in the steel cage match to Bray Wyatt. And Bray Wyatt's going for the Sister Abigail. And Daniel Bryan pushes him off, and the crowd just erupts. They just go like, yeah, and they go crazy. And he tries for it again. And Daniel Bryan pushes him off, and he starts fighting him off. And as Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, God rest his soul, Luke Harper, climbs the cage, Daniel Bryan's taking him off, and he starts dealing in kicks to Bray Wyatt. And then, Bray Wyatt's down. He gets into the corner. He unzips his jacket, and he starts the slow yes chants. And I will forever remember this moment. He starts these slow yes chants like, yes, 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 and perfect, just a perfect moment encapsulated by the camera zooming out, and you see Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt in the steel cage, and you could see this entire sea of fans slowly doing, like, not a single fan wasn't doing it, slowly doing the yes chant with Daniel Bryan. It's one of those moments you just never forget about. Dude, it was awesome. Daniel Bryan unzips the jacket. He hits the running knee. He climbs to the top of the cage as the crowd does a yes chant behind him. Daniel Bryan was made a star that night. At least in my eyes, he was. So yeah, that's my favorite moments. Number 9, least favorite female wrestler of all time. I don't really have one, but current least favorite would be Ruka from Stardom. Least favorite male wrestler. I don't really have an all time, but current would be Sonata and Okada. Tie. Favorite manager / valet. Paul Heyman. Funniest moment. What moment? I guess it would probably be the Stone Cold paying Vince a visit segment. If I think a lot about it, I could give you a concise answer, but I'll go with Stone Cold paying Vince a visit. Favorite gimmick. What's my favorite gimmick in pro wrestling? Right now, I would say it's Hiromu Takahashi. But of all time, what's my favorite gimmick? I don't know if I have an all-time favorite gimmick right now. Let's skip that answer. Favorite memory. All-time favorite memory. See, I feel like I'm put on a spotlight here. I wasn't prepared for this. Current favorite, Edge returning at the 2020 Royal Rumble. That will always live in my head as one of my favorite Royal Rumble pops. One of my favorite pops of all time. Favorite pay-per-view or show. All-time, Great American Bash 2008. That was one of the very first pay-per-views I got a chance to watch. And I enjoyed the entire thing from top to bottom. I have to rewatch it back one day. One of these days I have to rewatch it back. Favorite promo / segment of all time. I think in recent memory, I would have to say the promo with John Moxley and Eddie Kingston, building up to their feud at Full Gear. If I go back further, maybe the John Cena Roman Reigns segment from 2017. I don't know. I have to think about that one even more. First wrestling memory. Chris Jericho defeating The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin at Vengeance 2001 to become the undisputed world champion. Most overrated wrestler, Kazuchika Okada. Most underrated wrestler. Who's the most underrated? Who doesn't get enough praise? I don't feel like there's many wrestlers that are underrated nowadays. I'm gonna say Saya Kamatani. Favorite wrestling move, the pedigree and the sharpshooter. Favorite gimmick match, the Royal Rumble. Favorite era in wrestling, the Ruthless Aggression era. Most improved wrestler, Saya Kamatani. Most shocking moment, Edge returning at the Rumble. Favorite commentator or announcer. Favorite commentator, I would say, is Jim Ross in his prime. Current, I would make Kevin Kelly. Yeah, Kevin Kelly. As far as announcer, it's definitely, without a doubt, Justin Roberts. Justin Roberts is my favorite all the time and still my current favorite. Dream match. Please, 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 some point in the near future, I want to see Minoru Suzuki versus Orange Cassidy. I still want to see that match. A wrestler you want to see more of. This year, I want to see more John Silver. I want to see more John Silver singles and tag matches. I am determined this man should become AEW Tag Team Champion by year's end. If not, TNT Champion. If not, AEW Champion. Let me stop. Favorite rivalry. My all-time favorite rivalry is Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels from 2008. Favorite wrestling-related image. I don't know how to answer that question. And why are you a wrestling fan? Ooh. Why am I a wrestling fan? It goes all the way back to the year 2001, when your boy was merely 4 years old, and my dad was a humongous wrestling fan. Literally, I think all my family was wrestling fans when I was growing up, because this is at a time when professional wrestling was still cool. Like, all my family loved professional wrestling. I think my mom fell off around that time, and she hasn't really gotten back into it since. But like, all my family liked professional wrestling, and I remember it because I think my mom was bringing me to my grandparents' house, and it was my grandfather and my uncle were playing chess, because they play chess like all the time. I still remember going into my grandparents' house, and every single time I'd walk in there, they were playing chess with each other. But they were playing chess, and in the living room was my grandmother watching Vengeance 2001, and the main event was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Chris Jericho. And also The Rock versus Chris Jericho was before that. But I remember coming in, and it was during that match. Now, I was 4. I don't remember the entire thing. But I remember seeing the image of Chris Jericho holding both belts. And that was my first memory of being a pro wrestling fan. How I got into it was my dad. My dad watched wrestling. And, you know, spending quality time with my dad, I watched wrestling with him. And that's how I got into it. And my dad fell off with it. As he got older, he watched it less and less, but I watched it more and more. And I think as I grew up, I was surrounded by a lot of other wrestling fans. Like, going to elementary school, I remember my teacher, my 4th grade teacher, I don't remember her name. But my 4th grade teacher, I remember because I walked into class, and she had these 2 signed pictures. One of Batista and one of John Cena. And every week I would go in, I'd be like, "Did you watch Raw?" And she would entertain me. She would talk about wrestling with me. So that kept me going. And 5th grade, like, that was probably the year where I was like, yeah, because like nobody I knew watched wrestling except for like my family. Like, none of my friends watched wrestling. Middle school, I remember I had this WWE logo on my keychain. And everybody would be like, "You still watch wrestling, you fucking loser?" And I'd be the only guy who watched wrestling of my group. But, you know, it's whatever. Why am I a wrestling fan, though? It's the art, man. It's the art form. Seeing these guys go in there, put their bodies on the line to craft together these stories that are conveyed through body language. It's the most interesting art form there is out there. And I feel like even though it's misunderstood by really 85% of society, it's still the most captivating thing to me in my lifetime outside of video games and traveling. And that is why I'm still a wrestling fan. But why are you guys still a wrestling fan? I want you guys to comment down below and let me know that. I'm going to head up out of here. Thank you all for listening again to the 30th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. I love you guys as always, and I will see you all next week for episode 31. Peace out, guys.